It looks like Abby Wambach is ready to take responsibility after getting busted driving drunk. The retired U.S. women's soccer star is headed to diversion. Wambach was arrested on April 2nd after getting pulled over for running red light. Failing a field sobriety test and blowing a .13, she was at a friend's house having dinner with some drinks. The 35-year-old Wambach has already taken responsibility and apologized on her Facebook page. Mac Daniel Reynolds with the Reynolds Defense Firm is a DUI specialist. He's seen this type of thing 1,000 times. He does not represent Wambach, but was willing to speak with me about some of the things she will likely be facing.
So in Oregon, a person who's arrested for the first time in 15 years, arrested for a DUI for the first time in 15 years, and nobody was hurt as a result of this incident, but that person is eligible for the Oregon Diversion Program. What that means is that the person has to plead guilty or no contest to the DUI on the front end. A judge puts that plea in abeyance, puts it essentially on a shelf, and in this case, Abby, but whoever it is who's entered the diversion program, has to go through a series of requirements from the court over the course of a year, and having done all of those things, at the end of a year, the DUI can be dismissed. Of course, if a person doesn't do all the things they have to do, or if they get in trouble again in a different way, that person could be automatically convicted.
Gotcha. So it's important that they essentially own up to what they've done and get that, agree to this right up front, and then they can move forward.
So let me be real clear. I certainly don't represent Ms. Wambach. I don't know anything about her particular case other than, of course, what everybody's seeing in the news. For the vast majority of folks who are diversion eligible, diversion is a good thing. It gives people a way to move through this without a conviction, and that, for most folks, is a good thing to be able to accomplish.
Right, and you mentioned it's basically about a year's commitment. Is that right?
So the court program lasts 1 year. Within that year, there are obligations that a person has to do. So, for example, the person has to pay a court a small filing fee. They have to go through county alcohol and drug evaluation. They have to do whatever treatment program is required. That usually is between 12 and 18 weeks of classes. Verified clean and sober with using urine tests. They have to go through a victims panel, which is a one-time educational class to advise folks, of course, about the dangers of drinking and driving. They have an interlock device in their car for a full year. So an interlock device is a device that you have to blow into to start your car. And if there's alcohol that is on your breath, then the car won't start. So the person has to do all those things, and of course has to not get in trouble again in the DUI world. And then at the end of that year, the court will dismiss that charge.
That's a lot, isn't it? I mean, how much do you think out of pocket, generally speaking, is a person looking at paying if they get that DUI?
It's certainly not a cheap process. Part of it's going to depend on health insurance, but a person can easily spend $3,000 to $5,000 through this process, depending on how they do in the treatment program and where they do the treatment.
Right. In this case, it appears that she was at a friend's house having a few drinks at dinner, and then ended up being .13. In your experience, how quickly can that happen, and how easy that is for someone to get themselves over the limit?
It's interesting that one of the things that I have observed, and one of the basis that I've started our law firm on, is people don't usually get arrested for DUI when everything's going awesome in life. Usually people get arrested because something's not working the way they need it to during their life, or in their life right then. And the pressure of whatever that is builds to the point where they go out and they do something out of character. And in the context that I see them, of course, that they've been arrested for a DUI. A .13 is not a low blood alcohol content. It's certainly well above the legal limits. It's also not it's not such a high blood alcohol content that would give a judge or a prosecutor reasons to be concerned about how much a person's drinking on a regular basis there.
Yeah, okay, you put that pretty well. Okay, well, it is what it is. About all you can do is face it and make sure you do, like you mentioned, don't do it again, don't get in trouble again, and move on.
I think moving on by itself, of course, is something that has to happen. One of the things that I think is the most important piece here is to take a little bit of time and figure out what happened that got you in the situation. Because I don't know, again, Ms. Wambach's prior history. I don't know if she has any encounters or doesn't, but and I also don't know how old she is, but let's make a couple of assumptions. And one is that she's not been arrested for before, and two is that she's old enough that she's an adult, and she's created a pattern of behavior for herself. If she's not been arrested up until this point, then usually there's something going on in life that's causing her to do something out of character. And so if she just goes through the court process and ducks her head and pushes through, she'll get through it, and she'll come out the other side not having been convicted of a DUI. But if she doesn't take this opportunity to really take a good look at what's going on inside, she runs the risk of this happening again, not necessarily in a DUI context, but whatever pressure got her to the point where she did this, it could continue to grow and get her in trouble in some other way. So, yes, she needs to go forward through this and take a good look at what's going on.
Excellent. I will make sure in my story that I'll mention that you are not representing her, that you're speaking, as an expert in this field. So I appreciate your words. Is there anything I haven't mentioned that you want to say?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to talk here. There's a lot of good things that can happen for somebody who gets arrested for a DUI. And if you can see this as an opportunity, then you're coming out ahead. Important stuff there. Thanks to McDaniel Reynolds of the Reynolds Defense Firm. You hear their commercials all the time on the radio. They represent good people facing difficult situations. Appreciate his time. And if Abby faces this situation like she has appeared to deal with everything else so far in life, I would not bet against her.